Behind every legendary racehorse, every heart-pounding finish at the track, there's a story. But what if I told you that for almost all of them, it's basically the same story? A story of a single, kind of ghostly presence that echoes through the bloodline of nearly every champion you've ever heard of.
So let's just dive right in. I want you to think about the absolute titans of horse racing. You've got Secretariat, the machine who shattered records. You've got Man of War, the original Big Red. Think of all the horses that have thundered down the stretch at Churchill Downs. What is the one single thread that ties almost all of them together? Well, the answer is way more incredible than you might think.
And there he is, Eclipse. This is the genetic ghost we're talking about, an 18th century super horse who was never ever beaten, and who went on to build a dynasty that literally defines the sport to this day. His story isn't just about winning races, it's about completely rewriting the DNA of what a champion horse could even be.
So to really understand his incredible influence, we have to go all the way back to the beginning, to the horse himself. And believe me, what a horse he was. You know, sometimes it feels like destiny is a real thing. He was born during a solar eclipse, hence the name, right? And was bred by the Duke of Cumberland. It was like the cosmos itself had marked this horse for something special. After the Duke died, Eclipse was actually sold for a pretty small amount to a sheep dealer. But you can't hide that kind of talent, and he eventually caught the eye of an Irish adventurer named Dennis O'Kelly, a gambler, a total showman whose huge ambition was the perfect match for this horse's unbelievable ability.
And this quote? It just perfectly captures his dominance. This now famous line, "Eclipse first, and the rest nowhere," it wasn't just some clever boast. It was actually the terms of a bet O'Kelly made. He wagered that Eclipse wouldn't just win the race, but that every other horse would be more than 240 yards behind him. So far back, they were officially considered nowhere. And yeah, he won that bet. Easily.
In his entire career, he started 18 races, and he won all 18 of them. I mean, he was so completely dominant that after a while, nobody would bet against him. And then eventually, nobody would even bother racing against him. He often won just by walking over the course because no one else showed up. But here's the thing you gotta understand. Being undefeated back in the 1700s meant something totally different than it does today. The world that Eclipse dominated was, and I'm not exaggerating, unbelievably brutal.
The hardship these horses went through is just, it's hard to imagine. Modern training is a science, with nutrition and careful conditioning. Back then, it was all about breaking a horse down to build it back up. They were given harsh purgatives to cleanse them, forced into sweats in heated stables, and made to walk these punishing distances every single day.
And just look at this comparison. Today's Kentucky Derby is a sprint, about 1.25 miles. Eclipse ran in races that were 4 miles long, and he often had to run multiple 4-mile heats in the same day. The sport wasn't just about a quick burst of speed, it was a grueling test of pure, raw stamina and courage. And this is the world where Eclipse was completely untouchable.
But as incredible as his racing career was, and it was incredible, it almost pales in comparison to what he did after he retired. This is where the story goes from legend to an actual genetic dynasty.
So a key to his success might be this thing called the X factor. After Eclipse died, they did a necropsy and found his heart was about 25% larger than a typical horse's. The theory is that this large heart gene gets passed down through female descendants, and it's a trait found in a ton of champions, including Secretariat, whose own heart was estimated to be 2.5 times the average size. Wild, right?
And those physical gifts were clearly passed on. As a sire, he produced 344 winning racehorses. That's an incredible number that really started to reshape the entire landscape of thoroughbred breeding. But this is the number that just stops you in your tracks. Today, it's estimated that nearly 80% of all modern thoroughbreds trace their male line lineage directly back to Eclipse. Just think about that for a second. One horse, born over 250 years ago, is the patriarch for the vast, vast majority of racehorses on the entire planet.
So how do we get from an 18th century champion all the way to the modern icons of the sport? Well, his bloodline basically became a superhighway for greatness.
This timeline just lays it out so perfectly. The genetic echo of Eclipse just travels through the centuries, leading directly to Man of War, the dominant force of the 1920s, and then of course to Secretariat, who completely redefined what was possible on a racetrack in the 1970s. And what's so cool is that his genetic inheritance created different kinds of greatness. Man of War was all about raw power and sheer dominance, He was so intimidating that other trainers would often just withdraw their horses to avoid facing him. But Secretariat, generations later, was pure, explosive, record-breaking speed. Two totally different kinds of greatness, both sprouting from the exact same source.
And that legacy of speed is just undeniable. Get this. Over 50 years later, no horse has even come close to breaking Secretariat's records in the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, or the Belmont Stakes. That genetic gift from Eclipse is literally etched into the history books. But this incredible legacy, it comes with a complicated and, some would say, pretty dangerous consequence for the modern sport. I mean, what happens when one genetic line becomes too dominant?
Just take a look at this chart. Back in 1960, the average racehorse made over 11 starts in a year. Today, that number has been nearly cut in half. So horses are running faster than ever before, but they're also racing way less often.
And this is the trade-off. In this relentless, single-minded pursuit of speed, which is fueled by this one dominant gene pool, breeders have sacrificed durability. The tragic breakdown of a champion like Barbaro in the 2006 Preakness is just a heartbreaking example of this fragility. We've basically created a faster athlete, but a much more delicate one. Which leaves us with this final, kind of lingering question. Eclipse was the ultimate combination of speed and the stamina he needed to endure a brutal sport. His descendants have pushed the boundaries of speed to levels we never thought were possible. But in doing that, have we lost half of his incredible legacy? It's definitely something for every racing fan to think about.